Hello, my name is Brett Womack, and this is my Module 9 Assistive Technology for the Classroom Review. The first question was, describe the role of assistive technologies in the classroom. What past experience have you had with assistive technologies? Out of the assistive technologies listed or looked at this week, what did you find most interesting and most applicable for your teaching area? Assistive technologies in the classroom help students with a disability to learn techniques to be able to hear teachers when they're talking, due to complications with their hearing that they might have, or just to communicate as whole. Last semester in the spring, I had the opportunity to work with two students who had a speech disability, and they had to use an iPad when they were done with their work tasks to tell us, I want a snack, I want to go for a walk, I want this or that. And they did all of their communication through a tablet. They were unable to talk like we do and be able to make sentences and tell people what we want. They did not have that luxury. They had to have these iPads in order for them to communicate with us. I have worked a little bit with a student who has a cochlear implant, and I have worn a microphone around my neck so that when I'm talking to the other students about what's going on, it amplifies my voice for him to hear me on a louder scale. So I have only used those three, or I've worked with three students, but two with an iPad to communicate and one with a cochlear implant just to be able to hear me talk, because he can't hear me at just a regular voice level. I thought the IntelliKeys was interesting. For those students who know their letters and might have a hard time with a computer or keyboard, they can use this program. The one thing I liked is they can run there in the settings. You can change it to where when the students go over all the letters, it doesn't put any of the letters up there until they have found the letter, they put their finger on it, and then they press it. There were two things that the gentleman showed us where you can press the button and it just repeats it, or you can do in the settings where you just press it once and then it puts that letter up there. So if he was to hold it down for more than a second, he's not going to add more letters. And so I think this is really great for those students who are learning the keyboard or have a hard time with their motor skills in moving their fingers around on the keyboard, to be able to use this and still type and see it on a computer without having to delete a bunch of words or letters while doing that. As provided in the Bruinsma article, describe 3 of the 6 applications of assistive technologies and give an example of each that is not referenced in the article. So the first one I wanted to talk about was necessary to sustain life. Personal care, sleeping, and feeding. Some of the examples he gave us were spoons with larger handles, a device that helps you put on your shoes. An example that I found that would be to go along with the necessary to sustain life would be if you are cooking, you would have pictures for your recipes showing them what they need to add to their recipe, maybe how much, how to do it, and they're given pictures instead of just the words that we that we look at and that we do. The second one was oral and written expressions, visual and auditory reception, and social interaction. Some of the examples that he gave us or in the article was the message boards, the FM systems, and picture systems. An example that I thought was interesting was a text-to-speech program where, like with the iPads, you can text a word or whatever, and then it would say it on the iPad. And so with the two students that I worked with the iPad, they would choose what they wanted, and then when they would choose what they wanted, they would hit enter, and it would say what they wanted to do. And so I thought that was something interesting, that students could text something and then it would be able to read out loud what they are trying to communicate. The third one I wanted to talk about was daily living. The examples were adjustable desks, alternative light switches, and switches for computers. An example I found would be, it's called a hand typer. It's these things you wear on your hands that when you go around to type, it presses the letters, not necessarily for you, but you wear them on your hands, so if you can't type, you can go around and punch the buttons with your hands and still be able to type. The last thing, find one additional assistive technology that was not listed in the module and provide an overview of what it is, how it works, and where you found it. So I didn't really have to do a whole lot of research on this one. I talked to some fellow teachers about some other assistive technologies that they have used in the classroom, and one of the ones that was continually being brought up was a leapfrog. And once I did some research on it, it's a book that when you open it up, it has a pen, and you can take the pen and go over the pictures, and it'll tell you what is the picture. You can even take the pen and go over word by word on the book, and it'll read it to you. So if you can't read, or you want to know what's on the page or what different things are, it's really cool because the book will read it for you. Excuse me. And then you will be able to read a book whether you can't read or not, and be able to hear and possibly hear the sounds of each one of the things that are on the page. This is my assistive technology module. Hope you enjoyed it.